down 7
minutes to go. Maybe 曲大哥 can sing a song for us.
No, I'm sleeping.
We both have COVID, so his voice is not so great.
Yes.
Mine is not so great either.
小倩，现在可以，我已经做了直播，请你帮我粘贴到群里，我有些话要跟他们说，
好的
请你帮我粘贴啊。
给你马上连听。
好，谢谢。
Done.
So you got the COVID-19?
Yeah, right.
You are okay now, right?
Yeah, but it's been since maybe 6 days, so we're okay. We're okay. Just the voice is not so great. I don't think for now you're going to sing today, right?
I'm a singer.
难讲我。So, do you see any doctor for that?
No, we have been vaccinated. We have been
6 times.
boosted 3 times, so I think it wasn't a big deal. I've had colds that were worse than COVID, so.
现在他这个事情啊，两面，美国所有的人呢，都在把它加重一点，因为它已经不重了，已经死人不多了，已经不重了，所以为了在这个将来的这个 budget 功劳上面争取一点呢，现在就讲啊，重的不得了，实际上和以前的流行性感冒没有任何的两样。
有可能。把它说的严重了啊。
对，要把它做成严重状，这些人才有饭吃。
啊，我跟大家讲一句话啊，那个我把 Petra 的简介，他这个今天的演讲的简介翻译发在群里了啊，大家可以去看一看，啊，可以去看一看，我把它翻译了发在群里了，大家看一看，了解一下他要讲的什么，听起来希望可以有一点帮助啊。哦，洪大姐来了，好久没见到洪大姐了。
那个他很会讲，所以我要听他讲。
We still have 3 minutes. People keep coming, so that.
我们听不见声音，
听不见，现在没有人讲话，当然听不见。
It was waiting.
宇川。Okay, it is 3:30 now. Let's get it to start. I hope you turn your microphone off unless you want to speak. There is music I can hear. All right. Good afternoon, all friends in this group. It is my pleasure to learn English with you all again. A few months ago, I had invited Petra to be with us for the special presentation. 下午好，大家好。我很高兴又跟大家在一起学习英文。几个月以前，我邀请了 Petra 来做一个演讲。Due to her family affair and she's very busy lady, so we postponed until today. 因为她是个很忙的人啊，所以呢也推迟到今天来啊。Petra has many years teaching experience in the United States, and she is also an artist. 我们知道 Petra 是多年来在美国担任教师，在大学里面担任讲师啊。那么他本身也是一个艺术家。So today she will be in English throughout, and I hope you all listen carefully, see how much you can understand. 所以他的今天的演讲是从头到尾全程英文的我们希望大家认真的听，看看自己能够懂得多少。It is a big challenge to us, but I think we'll turn out fine. 是很大的挑战对我们。Today's time was originally set up for 蔡理明special music program. 今天的时间本来是安排蔡理明的这个特别的这个 music 就是音乐的节目。He kindly made the time for us. He also will be a translator for Petra's lecture. 今天本来是李明的这个音乐节目但是他很慷慨的把这个时间让给我们我也请他做今天的翻译So many thanks to 蔡理明After Petra finishing her speaking, we will spend a little bit time, like 5 to 10 minutes, to conversation or ask a question with Petra. 这个 Petra 讲完她的课以后啊，我们安排了短短的时间跟 Petra 去交流啊，看能讲多少或者问题提出来啊，让她去回答。So after that, we'll turn the time to next speaker, Xu Jia. He's continuing his leftover his grammar program. That is today's arrangement. Now let's welcome Petra with a big round of applause.
Thank you. 谢谢。Okay, I will go right away to share screen. Can you all see the slide?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Last time when I gave a talk to some of you, somebody asked whether this time I might be able to talk about Picasso. Picasso is a big subject, and it's impossible to talk about Picasso's work, all of his work, in half an hour or 1 hour or 1 day. Some of my colleagues give a whole course on Picasso. So instead, I decided perhaps we could talk about one painting by Picasso, and that's the painting that you see on the left. It is called Ma Jolie, with a French title, and I will talk more about that in a moment. Shall we translate now?
Yeah, okay, I'll try. 上一次我跟我们某一部分的人这个演讲的时候，有人提议让我来谈一谈毕加索。但是呢，毕加索是一个非常有成就、作品很多的人，所以要谈毕加索1个小时，或者是一天，或者是1个礼拜，都不可能。有的人他说，我的同事为了毕加索的这个作品呢，开了1个学期的课OK, Petra.
Wait a second, why is it not going on? Somehow the slide doesn't want to move. Okay, all right. So I kind of see some of you thinking, why did she choose this very boring looking painting? It's all gray and brown, and it doesn't really look very appealing. And the first answer is that this is perhaps the most important painting of the most important period in Picasso's career, and that is his Cubist period. Picasso, of course, is an artist who we associate with the invention of Cubism.
这一张画看起来灰乎乎的，到底它的里面说些什么呢？那么这幅画呢，是毕加索一生里面最重要的一个作品之一。 这幅画是毕加索一生最重要的一件事情，就是他发明了立体主义，英文叫做 Cubism。这个 Cubism， 它是我把它的定义发在了我们的Zoom 群里面啊，你们有空可以去看一看。也许 Petra 等一下会给我们再讲一点啊。OK， Petra。
This painting was painted exactly 110 years ago. And even today, it looks strange. It looks revolutionary. We don't understand it. And we feel that this is a typical example of the weirdness of modern art.
这幅画是在整整100年以前画的，即使在今天，对于很多人，对于整个艺术界，还是非常前卫的，还是有很多人不太懂的。但是这一幅画带动了这个立体主义。
The first question we have, of course, is what is it? Or is it anything at all? Is it a completely what we call non-objective or non-representational painting? Or does it perhaps actually represent something?
这幅画到底里面画了什么呢？它是不是它代表画的什么？还是根本没有代表任何东西？它是也许它是一种所谓的不真实的艺术呢？就是它里面没有画什么东西的这个艺术呢 ？Go ahead.
Well, Picasso gives us a little bit of a clue, because at the very bottom of the painting, you see that there are two words that are painted as if they are actually printed. And here you have a close-up of the bottom, and you see that the two words are ma, and the second word is jolie. Which translated from French, we all know that Picasso was Spanish, but he lived most of his life in France, so he spoke French. So ma jolie, translated in English, means my pretty girl. So this gives us a sense that perhaps what we're looking at is a girl.
毕加索给了我们一个暗示就是在这幅画的最下面有2个字这个字呢就是 Ma Jolie。 这个 Ma Jolie 翻译是法文，翻译成中文呢就是美丽的女孩Go ahead, Pastor.
Now, this idea of having an image with a title underneath is, of course, very common in Western art, particularly in the 19th and early 20th century. And I show you here a more or less random image by a 19th century artist called Daumier of a man playing a guitar. And you see at the bottom, the title of the image is called Le Guitariste Amateur, the amateur guitarist. So Picasso kind of follows this idea of having an image with the title written underneath.
在那个时代，这种形式的画作还蛮 这个通常的啊，就是有一幅画，下面把这幅画的主题写在那里啊。像这是另外一个人的一幅画，它的主题就是这个一个业余的弹吉他的人啊，这个底下他把这个人的这个画主题呢写在那里。Go ahead, Petra.
Now there's a little bit more to that title, Ma Jolie. Actually, the word Ma Jolie, my pretty girl, was part of a very popular song at that time, a song that was sung in all the music halls of Paris. And the last line of that song, which recurred all the time as the song was being sung, had the word Ma Jolie. And if you want to listen to the talk, I put here the YouTube link because you can still, the song is still available today.
Ma Jolie, 我的漂亮女孩，在那个时候也是一个很流行的一个歌的名字啊。这个下面这个网站 YouTube 的网站就是唱这个歌的，你们如果有兴趣的话，可以去那里听一听。
However, Ma Jolie was also the nickname by which Picasso called his girlfriend in 1911 and 1912 when he painted this painting. A woman who was called Eva Guel, but who called herself Marcel Humbert. I mean, it's not really important. On the left, you see a picture of her. She was one of Picasso's many girlfriends. Those of you who know a little bit about Picasso's life, you know that he was a terrible womanizer. He had 4 wives, and nobody knows how many girlfriends while he had his wives or in between the wives. And Eva Guel was his girlfriend from about 1911 to her death in 1915. She died very early at the age of 30.
这个照片是一个女孩的照片，是毕加索的一个女朋友啊。毕加索是一个很有名的 womanizer 就是我不知道中文怎么翻译啊，就是
追女人。
他有很多女人啊，他结过4次婚，有4个太太，然后他的女人是无数的啊。那这个是他中间的一个，这个女的只活了30岁啊，只活了30岁。Okay, Petra.
So this was Picasso's Ma Jolie. This was his pretty girl. This is how he called her, you know, when they were together. And so this most likely, we assume then, is an image of Eva Guel, is an image of his girlfriend at that time. Can we see a girl in this painting?
这个很大的一个惊奇啊！这幅画里的主题就是刚才那个女孩啊，这幅画就是画的那个女孩。那么我们大家能在这里面看出来这个女孩吗？ Go ahead, Petra.
Well, I'm kind of hoping somebody will say yes or no, or maybe.
No.
Well, I think I vaguely see, if you do your best, at the top something that might look like a head. unfortunately, I can't use a pointer in this thing because I don't have one. And you could also perhaps see something that looks like arms and a body. I don't think that it's a full-length figure. I think that she is seated on a chair. And you notice that in the painting, there are little, maybe you saw it better in the detail. I go back for a moment to this detail. You see, for example, a musical clef sign on the right. And there are other little details that are kind of recognizable when I will show you some details in a moment, but many of them seem to refer to music. I believe that she is actually perhaps playing a guitar. You see some round forms that perhaps could be the form of the guitar. And right in the center, you see 6 vertical strings that could be the string of the guitar. Now, one of the reasons I'm thinking that is because that was a kind of subject that Picasso became very fond of in this time. Both he and his close friend Braque both developed Cubism together, and most of their Cubist paintings represent seated figures, a man or a woman playing a musical instrument, usually a guitar.
Okay, Petra, if you try, see if you can use your mouse pointer.
Oh yeah, okay, I can do it. So here's the head.
这是头。
Here's the shoulders.
这个是肩膀。
Here's an arm. Here's an arm.
手背。
Here are the strings of the guitar.
这个是吉他上的线。
This may be a table or a chair.
这个是下面这个是
And then maybe this is some sheet music that she is looking at.
这里有乐谱的纸张。
So we could think in terms of this photograph. This is a random photograph. This is not at all Eva Guel. It's just some photograph I found online of that period of a woman playing a guitar. But this, I think, is more or less what was the point of departure for Picasso. What was he looking at? He was looking at his girlfriend sitting in a chair and playing a guitar.
这张照片跟这一张画是没有关系的，他只是找到这样一张那个时代的照片啊，一个女人在弹吉他，但是跟这张画是没有关系的。在那一个时代，他们发明这个立体主义的时候，很多的立体主义的这个画作都是画一个人坐在椅子上弹一个乐器，这个乐器常常都是吉他啊。Go ahead, Petra.
So the question is, why did he not just paint her the way he saw her? And
问题是他为什么不直接就画了他呢？ Go ahead, Petra.
And that has to do with the fact that Picasso became interested in the way we are seeing, and in the fact that the way we are seeing is very different from a picture.
毕加索那个时候对人的看法很有兴趣。他说，我们常常看到的跟我们的画作里面不一样。
The photograph that you see on the right is, as we all know, a snapshot. That means it is recorded by the camera in an instant of a second.
在右边这张画呢，是一个照相机照的这个女人，是那一时刻的这个女人。
Most traditional paintings are also painted that way. They also represent an instantaneous moment a frozen moment in time.
那个时代很多画作也是像照相一样，它是画的某一个图像在某一个特定的时间的形象。
But we all know that when we are in real life, seeing happens over time, right? I mean, we're not looking for a split second. I mean, we're looking for a few minutes. We're looking for if we were, you know, sitting here with this woman playing the guitar for us, we would be maybe sitting there for half an hour or longer. And when we look at something over time, everything is constantly changing. The figure may be moving. Our eyes are wandering. Maybe we look at the whole figure, or we focus on her toe, or we focus on her hand, and then we look again at the whole figure. So seeing is a constantly changing and in a way fragmented process.
我们看东西的时候，都是看的东西是不是看那一个时间点？我们看到的东西都是一直在变的啊。我们不看它那1秒钟，也不看那1分钟，我们可能看这个时间，看如果这个女的在唱歌，我们看她在唱歌的那2分钟、3分钟。我们很少看东西是只看那一个时间点，像这个照片，我们只看这一个时间点。
Now, when we want to reproduce that way of seeing, we could, of course, use film.
我们要想要看那个不是一点的话，我们常常我们就可以用拍电影的方法。
But Picasso's challenge to himself was, how can we show that way of seeing over time, whereby the eye wanders, the figure moves, we go from far to close up? How can we suggest that in a single image?
那毕加索就说，我们怎么来挑战我们自己？我们用电影来表演的，用一张图画来表示出来。
So this led him then to Cubism, and particularly this is what we call the first phase of Cubism, analytic Cubism.
这就是他发明立体主义的出发点，它叫做分析性的立体主义。
So we could imagine that in analytic Cubism, the artist more or less cut up the image. Let's say for a moment he this is not what he does, but let's say he takes a photograph and he cuts it up in different pieces. Photograph from pieces of the figure from the front, from the side, from the back, because maybe, when you look, you also kind of walk around the figure. So he cuts up the entire figure into geometric shapes, into triangles and rectangles and squares. And then he kind of more or less rearranges them in the general shape of a figure.
所以他的这个分析性的立体主义，就是他把这一个主体，他把它切割，他从正面切割、斜面切割、前面切割、后面切割、侧面切割，切割成三角形、方块形、长方形、方块，然后把这些个体的 图形呢重新组合成现代他所谓的主体主义。
So I want to look now at two details. Oh, wait a second. I'll come back to that in a moment. This is the bottom half. And then, of course, again, you see at the bottom, let me use my bain joli over here. But you also see other kind of certain interesting details. I already talked about the musical sign. This over here could be the hole, you know, the sound hole in a guitar. And you see various rounded shapes that also could be the guitar. This, I have been looking at this for years without really totally understanding what this could be, but you know, maybe it is a pack of cigarettes or something like that. But then you have this interesting thing, of which I'm going to show you a detail here. When you look at it in reality, as I did, wait a second. It looks very realistic. And I think it may be actually what you see here on the right, the tuning parts of the guitar with the strings. So the interesting part is that in the painting, you have here and there very realistic little details like the strings, like the tuning, like musical, signs. But then also these kind of geometric shapes that don't really have any specific meaning by themselves. And that just seem to be kind of, kind of areas of the body that are lit or that are in the shade or that are highlighted. So there is some logic, but there is also, I think, some interest of the artist to create a kind of an interesting and aesthetic composition. Another thing that you notice, which is rather interesting, is that the painting does not look flat, right? It doesn't have a lot of perspective of depth, but it is kind of layered. Sorry, that's a little bit too much for you to translate.
Okay, Petra, that thing you think is a pack of cigarette.
Yeah.
Could that be a 4 fingers?
Well, yeah, they're a little too regular for it, I think.
Okay.
Let me take a look. No, I mean, I have asked all my students for what it possibly could be. I thought it might also be, you have these pins, flutes that have different things. It could be crayons. Sorry, this is jumping back and forth all the time. So if I spent last year an hour in front of the painting, and there's all of these little things that are, you think you recognize it and then you're not sure. It's very interesting, intriguing.
Let me say something about what you just said. I can't translate every word because I forgot some of it already. Petra 想在这个图画上想要指出来哪一个部分像什么，哪一部分像什么，在这个 JOLE 的正上方上方有一个三角形旁边一个1/4圆，但是在上面呢，这个地方有一点像，他说那个有一点像一个吉他的调节的那些转钮。他说这个图画的右边呢有4根圆柱子一样小小的圆柱子，他说也许像一盒像几根香烟，然后那这边有一个音乐的符号，他说有些东西每个人看到都不确定它是什么。好，我们看看以后 Petra 能不能把它 把这些东西组合起来，让我们看到什么东西啊？到现在为止，他很多东西他也不太确定是什么。
I think that the important thing to understand out of all of this is that what Picasso is trying to do is to suggest something about the fragmentary way of vision. The idea that our vision is not, you know, this snapshot entire thing. That's not how we look. We look away, we look again, we pay attention to something, and we do something. We, you know, that kind of randomness of vision, the fragmentary part of vision, that is really what Picasso was interested in. And that also includes that when you look at something, all of a sudden you might focus on something. So these very realistic details that are pointed out, the tuning pins on the guitar, maybe all of a sudden you know, you're looking and your eye kind of focuses on that.
毕加索呀，他比较感兴趣的是我们看到的东西的片段的东西。我们看一眼这个是这个片段，又转过头来看另外一个地方，又是一个片段。他说我们看到的东西是一个一个的片段，然后他把它组合起来。
I like to link that idea of the well, before I do that, I just wanted to kind of oh, wait a second. I put things a little bit in a different wrong order. I like to kind of connect this idea of the fragment with the time in which Picasso was working, the early part of the 20th century. And we realized, of course, that, you know, this is a time of tremendous change. We are at the cusp of World War I. You know, the car, the airplane have been invented. Life has become incredibly fast. There's a tremendous amount of information available. And so life becomes itself more fragmentary. And in an interesting way, that it can be seen in a fashion of that time, and that's the fashion of the scrapbook.
他说啊，那个时代在90年代的早期，1920年那个时代，那是第一次世界大战，然后有很多事情发生了，然后那个时候就很流行这个 scrapbook。这个 scrapbook 就是收集，每个人都喜欢拿一个本子剪贴一些报纸啊，剪贴一些放一些照片啊，放一点写几个字啊，收集很多片段的东西，所以他就跟他那个立体主义的这个想法呢，这个想法有一点近似。
So I show you two examples. The one on the right is a scrapbook of a trip. So the making of scrapbooks becomes very, very popular around 1900.
在1990年的时代呢，做这个 scrapbook 收集的这个是很流行。右边呢是旅行的一个这个 scrapbook 啊，收集记录啊。
So the one on the right is you see a page in a travel scrapbook. So people went on trips and they bought postcards or they made photographs and they put them in a scrapbook, as we still do today. And all these fragments, you know, these different photographs which represent fragments of their trip together make the whole trip. Just in the same way as the one in the center is a scrapbook of articles cut out of the newspaper, and all together they tell a whole story. So the fragments come together to tell a larger story.
在中间的这个呢，就是剪贴的很多文字片段，文字的片段，它们每一个都是一个片段，但是放在一起呢，就给你讲一个故事。
So, as I said, in a way, Picasso's Marjolin could be seen as a kind of a scrapbook of an image of a young girl. The young girl cut up in fragments and then kind of put together to create a whole. And I put that one next to a painting which was painted, I can't see it because of your images for it, but only, I think, about 10 years earlier by the Impressionist painter Renoir, also of a woman seated playing the guitar. And of course, you see how incredibly revolutionary Picasso really is.
这个左边这一幅画呢，毕加索这一幅画呢，你可以想象，就像那个 scrapbook， 就是收集的就是收集了很多片段啊。我们收集的有些片段的文字，有些是很多张照相，但是这些相片放在一起就告诉一个旅行的故事，这些文字就告诉一个这些文字里面写的故事。这个毕加索就想要用这个女孩，这个 Marjolin 这个女孩的身上的片段，不同时间的片段，把它凑成来一幅图画，是讲这个女孩的故事。在旁边的这幅画呢，也是 Renoir 的这个画了一个女孩在弹吉他。这两幅画你可以看到是非常革命性的改变，作画的方法的改变。
Now, one of the ways, I mean, the two paintings, of course, are totally different, but one of the important ways in which they differ is that Picasso does not use color. And that is true for the entire early analytic phase of Cubism, that there is very little color. I mean, it's not without color. You have gray, you have beige, sometimes you have a little blue, a little green, but it is largely what we call monochrome, as opposed to, of course, traditional paintings like Renoir's, which is reds and whites and browns and greens and has all kind of colors.
这两幅画作的很明显的一个差别，就是右边这个画作用很鲜艳的彩色，而毕加索这个彩色这一幅画作呢，没有鲜艳的彩色，它基本上都是灰的都是灰暗的颜色，没有用任何鲜艳的彩色。
Now, this lack of color in Picasso's early Cubist paintings has been explained in various ways. On the one hand, perhaps the fact that at the time he was looking at a lot of photography, which then, of course, was still without color.
很多人有想要解释为什么毕加索那个时候没有用彩色，因为毕加索那个时候看了很多照相，那个相片，那个时代的相片都是没有彩色的。
Other people have said that Picasso was so obsessed with the kind of intellectual game, in a way, that he was playing, that he couldn't be bothered with color.
还有一个说法就是说，他那个时候是在做一个思想上的奋斗啊，他不愿意去花很多精神在这个彩色上。
Now, I want to end with one final slide, which represents the next phase of Cubism, and that is what we call synthetic Cubism. And here's a painting also in the Museum of Modern Art in New York that is entitled The Three Musicians. It's about 10 years later than Majoli, which I just showed you. And you notice, of course, the first thing that you notice is that, well, all of a sudden the color is back, right? We no longer, have that kind of brown, gray kind of quality. We have reds and yellows and blues and a very rich kind of color scheme.
10年之后，他的立体主义的第二个阶段，这幅画就是这个时代呢叫做 synthesis cubism。
Synthetic, yeah. So
它是
analytic means
这
to
个
pull
翻译成
apart.
组合式的立体主义。那么前面一个是解析式的立体主义。这个时候呢，它的彩色就回来了。这个是10年以后的事情啊。这幅画呢，也在纽约的现代艺术博物馆。
Yeah, so analytic cubism, which is the first phase, the word analytic means to take apart, to complete, like you would take, let's say, dissect a human body. You could totally take it apart. Synthetic means to put together. So they're in a way each other's opposite.
Analytic symbolism 就是分析式、分解式的立体主义。这个新的立体主义，第二个阶段的立体主义呢，叫做组合式的立体主义。一个是把一个主体分析片段，然后去做一个画作。这个是把片段把组合起来来做一个画作。
So in analytic cubism, the point of departure is the subject. So whether Picasso was looking at his girlfriend or whether he was looking at a photograph of his girlfriend, that was the point of departure. And he then analyzed it, he took it apart, broke it up, fragmented it, and created an image.
分析式的立体主义是把一个主体把它分解，它是从一个主体开始，然后把它从这个角度看那个角度看，这样做一个切面，那样做一个切面，然后把它这些切割以后，然后用这些切割的切面来作画。
In synthetic cubism, Picasso starts with geometric shapes. So you have, for example, the white N shape, or you have these rectangles with the little triangles inside. So he begins with the geometric shapes and then put them together almost like a collage into a subject. In this particular case, the subjects of three musicians, three performers playing a clarinet, a guitar, and a singer. So you might say the process is the other way around, because he starts with the geometric shapes and then works towards the subject.
在这个组合式的立体主义呢，它是先用立体图形，它各个不同的这个图形几何图形，把它拼凑出一个主体。它是从图形开始拼合成一个主体，所以这幅画呢叫做三个音乐人他一个人在这个右边这个白的这个人呢，他是在吹一个黑管clarinet 这边右边这个穿黑的呢是在唱歌中间有一个人在弹吉他。它是用各种不同的几何图形来组成的。
I hope all of you actually saw the dog here at the bottom. Here's his tail, and here's his body, and here is his feet. See the dog?
Now I do. 他说希望我们大家看得见，这里面有一个狗，这个在这个橘红色的这个两条腿中间，这个人的两条腿中间有一个向上黑的向上翘的，这是尾巴。在这个这个白色的这个音乐人呢，他的白色的腿中间黑的这个是这狗的身子，他的他的在左边呢就是狗的头啊。
Finally, also notice that synthetic cubism is much more recognizable, right? We can actually recognize what's going on in this painting. I don't have to tell you that there are three musicians. You can see for yourself.
这个组合式的这个立体主义呢，它的画作的我们比较容易看得出来它是画什么。再反过来那个解析式的这个立体主义呢，很难看出来他是做什么，他画的是什么。
So I hope I have made the painting of Marjolin a little bit more attractive to you all. I hope you no longer see it as a totally weird and unattractive painting. If you are interested in Cubism and you come to New York, a very important exhibition of Cubism just opened in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So perhaps you can all go and see that. Thank you very much.
他说：“我希望我这个演讲呢，让大家对这幅毕加索的这个解析性的画作呢，看得清楚，看得了解一点啊。希望不再把它当做一团乱糟糟的东西啊。
Is that all? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Now,
thank you to the translators. Very good job.
Petra, can you stop the screen sharing for me, please?
Yes. Let me see.
Okay. Thank you, Petra. Very, very interesting presentation. Okay. And thank Charlie me. Wonderful translator.
Very good job. Yeah.
Okay. Very good job. Very. I could not do that.
Now that's is laughing his head off at my translation.
Let's spend a few minutes to talk about what you learn here or your feeling about it. We still have time enough for Xu Jia, okay? Xu Jia need a little bit of time. We still have a lot of time. I want you to talk with this. 你的感想啊，都可以说。
I'd like to ask Petra a question. Why is it so valuable to have this cubism? It's not pretty in the common sense. What is the value of this cubism?
Well, I think that the value is, first of all, to make us think about how we see and to make us realize how unnatural a painting is that we actually think is very realistic, and that we become aware of the way we see, and that also creates greater awareness of the way we live. So I think that is not an unimportant thing to just understand it. I want to say something more about these paintings, though. You know, when I was raised as an art historian in Europe, we didn't even look at 20th century art. And so I also really had to, had to kind of get used to this work. With Cubism, it is very, very important to see the original painting. It's very difficult to see their beauty in a way in photographs. They're very subtle. I mean, if you look at them in reality, they're really beautiful. The color, it's a little bit like you would look at a Chinese painting. There's also no color, but just the kind of variations of gray, and that is what's very important. You can't really. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to reproduce a Cubist painting in a good way. I mean, even even if I try to find the very best images I could find on the internet, and it's difficult.
Let me translate my question and then your answer. My question,我的问题是，为什么这个立体主义这么重要？立体主义的画看起来一点都不美，为什么他发明的立体主义是这么重要的一个在艺术界这么重要的一个发明？他说，因为立体主义把我们看东西的看法，以前只有一个看法，现在有另外一个不同的看法，可以发展成很多不同的看法。虽然我们不一定同意它的美观，它另外一点重要的就是说 ，Cubism， the real Cubism， you see the real thing， 这真正的 Cubism 的 painting 非常好看。我们看到 the picture we saw does not reflect the real thing。我们看到的这个照片呢，或者是网站呢，看到这个立体主义的画作呢，比跟真的画作差很远。他说你要去看一看，你就觉得那个也真的很美。
谢谢 ，Thank you， Petra， without your explanation and the interpreter, I see this picture painting is nothing. It's nothing. But now I try to understand its beauty. Okay. 我跟 Petra 讲说，如果没有他这样解释，我觉得这个是一塌糊涂的这个 painting 的。The problem is Picasso is famous, world famous. So whatever her art painting, no, it's valuable. Okay. So 我的感想只是因为他聪明了啊，毕加索是全世界聪明的画家，所以他画的再坏也都是很贵的啊。Let me remind you, this Cubism is actually in China long time ago. The phrase, Chinese phrases said, refer to a deer as a horse. Okay. Let me say in Chinese, okay. 我跟 Petra 讲啊，你所讲的这个立体主义啊，其实让我想起我们古代有一句话叫做指鹿为马。OK， 你看一个东西，你明明它是马。你说是鹿，你就想它就是鹿，它就变成鹿了。
切根片我看看能不能吃。
OK， 它就变成马了。所以这种呢，就是一种想象，充满想象啊。那你看一个不好看的东西，你心情很不好，你就想说，哎，那个里边很好，很有意思。那你人突然间 就很高兴，是不是这样？ Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Petra?
I kind of wanted to say also something else about this. People have this feeling that art should be immediately accessible, right? So if I can immediately understand it, if I don't like it, then forget about it. That's I want to look at it. That is fine. I mean, that's your choice. However, you know, if you really think you want to learn more about art and you want to enjoy art more, you have to learn a little bit about it. It's almost like saying, oh, I think Albert Einstein's theory are nonsensical because I don't understand them. That you know, just because you understand them, that doesn't mean that his ideas are nonsensical. It's the same with contemporary music. You know, you in the beginning, maybe you don't really like it because that's not what you're used to. But
that's why. That's why I said without your explanation, I really cannot see the meaning. So I appreciate your explanation so that I can see little by little. It's going to be a long way to go, like your level, right?
Patrick 刚才说，艺术，我们以前看的，我们一般人看的艺术，就是说一看我们叫喜欢的，这才是艺术啊！一看我不喜欢的，这就不是艺术。但是艺术可以有很多形式，我们不一定每个人都立刻就喜欢。音乐也是这样的啊，很多音乐啊，比较前卫的音乐，敲锣打鼓什么的啊，开始我们都不也有，我们也可能到现在还不会欣赏啊。这个 avant-garde music，right？ 啊，这还有外国人听京戏，中国人听歌剧啊，这些你要去了解，要去学的想喜欢它。科学也是这样的，爱因斯坦的这个相对论，一般的人不懂，一般人再去研究，让我再去研究，我也不懂。但是你就不能说它不是科学啊，它还是很，所以不能因为我们个人不喜欢，就觉得它不是艺术啊。
That's right. That's right.
I try to translate what you said, Petra.
Yeah, I understand. I understand some Chinese, so I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could I ask a question? The Cubism and modern arts, different artists, do they think a similar trend or very differently?
Oh, I mean, Cubism is only one of hundreds of what we sometimes call isms. You know, we have expressionism and futurism, and we have, you know, vorticism, and there's so many movements in modern art. And of course, one of the things about modern and modernism is precisely the notion of change. You always want to do something else. You want to be original. It has to be different from the previous generation. So, in the 20th century, there are, of course, many, a very large number of different artistic movements, and artists have different ideas and do different things.
Any other question? Want to talk? We need a little bit time for Xu Jia. Okay, we can control in 5 minutes talking.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one last question. Because we are kind of welcoming change, and so there has to be some rules or standards to say this change is good, that change is not. In terms of music, a lot of the music, style of music, when it first came out, people don't understand, don't like it. Eventually, they may accept it, but some of them may never be accepted. So there's something, what are the rules or guidelines for that to happen? 我问 Petra， 我们很多艺术，像这个立体主义是改变啊，那么改变呢，就很多人做各种不同的改变，怎么样的标准，怎么样的尺量来决定这个改变好的，那个改变不好的啊？音乐方面，有的音乐新的音乐出来，大家都不喜欢，可是有些音乐过一段时间，慢慢就接受了，就觉得接受了以后还觉得蛮好的。有的音乐再久也没有，但他自己就消失了。That was my question.
Well, you're asking a question to which an entire branch of philosophy is devoted. You know, there is a branch of philosophy called aesthetics that has major philosophers have written major works on aesthetics, and they are still not in agreement about the answer to this question. So there's one branch of aesthetics, one way of thinking that says, well, the rules should be set by the people who know most about it. So in other words, let's not talk about art, let's talk about food. We all kind of can talk about food. So what is the rule for good food?
Okay, 我把 Petra 的
Can we create a rule, an absolute rule to say what is good food?
我把 Petra 的 Let me translate what you said so far. 他说我的问题啊，问的问题啊，那在哲学界有一个团，很多人啊，他们是在研究这个，没有一个定论，怎么样定这个标准，哪一个是好的，哪一个是坏的？音乐这个新的音乐好的，这个新乐不好，这个艺术新的艺术好，这个新艺术。他说现在哲学界在研究这个问题啊。Go ahead, Petra.
So, so some people would say, well, you know, with food, we should just kind of go to the experts, you know, the people who eat all the time, who are connoisseurs, you know, they are going to decide what's good, right? Because they have eaten so much, they can kind of compare. They can say, okay, this squid is better at this restaurant than at that restaurant, or something like that. You know, because part of it, of course, is comparison, right? I mean, you say this is better than this. So that's kind of one way of doing it. We say, okay, well, we recognize certain experts and whatever they say, you know, we're going to follow. The problem with that is that sometimes tastes change, you know, I mean, in food too, you know, some of the foods that people ate in the 19th century that they really loved, we probably would hate today, you know, and let alone, you know, earlier foods, we would probably not be able to eat it. So these so-called experts will develop different taste over time. So then there is others, and most importantly, the German philosopher Kant, who wrote a kind of a 5,000-page book about this question, which I totally don't understand. But basically what he says is there has got to be an absolute standard because we can't accept there is none. And here's the example that he gives. We're standing on the seaside and we're seeing an absolute gorgeous kind of sunset, and we cannot accept that there are people who would say this sunset is ugly. You know, we cannot accept that, right? The sunset is so beautiful. How can anybody in the whole wide world say this is ugly? So Kant says, therefore, there must be an absolute standard, but we don't know what it is. So Kant's philosophy is not very helpful either. So basically, I mean, this is a very difficult question to answer.
Thank you. I think you explain and give a conclusion already. Okay. Well, we need the time. Turn to Xu Jia. Now, again, I thank you so much for making.
翻译一下，先翻译完了再说。
One question.
让蔡礼明翻译一下。
OK， 让我很快的翻译一下
One question I want to
讲的话，然后韩英还有一个问题啊，
我有一个
许芬豆还有一个问题，
我没有问题，我只要 clear 一个事情给大家
好，
大家谈了半天，很多事情谈了，有一件事情没有谈，这个在 Petra 出来跟我在外面演讲的时候常出的问题。Petra 是荷兰人，不是河南人，这一点大家要记住。
河南
是荷兰人，不是河南人。我们中国人都叫他是河南人，实际上他是荷兰人。
好，知道了，
就这样。
谢谢。
刚才 Patrick 讲的就是讲这个，我回答我的问题，他举一个例子，他说食物。什么食物好吃我们一般人说找专家来，这个专家说好吃，但是我们的口味会变。我小时候爱吃的，现在不爱吃的，10年前爱吃的，我离开台湾的时候，那时候什么都好吃，现在回去没那么好吃，所以这个标准会变的。他说有一个人站在这个海边看的这个夕阳，他说这个漂亮的不得了，怎么会有人不喜欢这个？怎么会有人不喜欢这个风景呢？所以这个就是说，我现在这个怎么搞的？
让你喝这个啥？
你还在 share screen， 把那 screen 关掉好了。
好，他最主要就是说我们的标准会变现在这个标准的问题呢，哲学家们还在研究，还没有定论。好，韩英刚才有一个问题，请说。
我还是说中文吧，为了解释清楚。我首先很感谢 Petra， 因为他打开了给我的一个视野，打开了我的眼睛，让我看到了毕加索，我接触到毕加索的立体的画，这个是让我初次了解他。那么我也给我我想再进一步了解他，打开了门，打开了窗户，这第一。第二个，我感觉到我非常的高兴。我感觉到，因为我很喜欢画画，喜欢画国画，那时候大部分都是水墨画，跟中国的文化底蕴一样，很多都用，你看只要是墨，把墨能分成5色，利用这个纸的沁韵，黑白2色来描述，来说明主题，来描绘抒发你内心的感受，画出云，画出水，画出山，画出树木，画出人。那么他就说，而且很多东西都是让你在空中想象，留下白让你空中想象。而那个毕加索不一样，我觉得他们这个时候在19多少年的时候，他们已经开始，我觉得他们很注意形体，他们会用另外一个视野。你比如说，他们这个女的坐着弹吉他，他会从左侧把它分解成很多方块，对吧？就三角形。那个正方形或者各种形体，完了再从右侧再去看呢，又是分成很多组合起来。另外一个在别的地方，他就感觉它能移动。这个女的从正面的地方移动到侧面向下低，它又移动了好几个块儿。 那么他注意一个很形体的东西，和我们像中国的当中很多唐诗啊，或者中国水墨画，想象的空间很多。我觉得这是不同的文化底蕴，不同国家及文化底蕴当中，所以我感觉当然他后面在发展10年以后所发展的组合式的立体，那就更好办了，那就更加接近它，也就是它改变了它那些琐碎的那个块太碎了，太碎化了以后，让人们不容易明白。那么它开始组合了，开出好多立体，再把立体变成一个整体，那么人们就开始懂得多了，也好看得多了。那么也就是说，毕加索在发展了，他的绘画在发展，所以我感觉这个让我打开也是另一扇窗户，就感觉到那个外国人感觉到他是很表面看见的东西，而不是中间那个中国5000年历史当中很多想象的东西。但是这个问题在了，是不是我认为是对的？我就讲这。
让我来把你说的话讲给 Petra 听啊。She said that first of all, she wants to thank you for opening up her eyes to Picasso's world. Before that, she does not understand that. Now she's beginning to understand that world. And she compared that to some of the Chinese paint. She's a painter. She compared that to her painting experience. So she said a lot more than that. I won't. Basically, that's the basic point. Okay. Okay. Now we can turn over to.
谢谢Peter remembering 我们的 interest， 他还记得，我就很感谢他，他还记得我们对这个毕加索的这个画很感兴趣，请他讲一下，他还记得非常感谢 just this。
She appreciates that you remember her interest in Picasso.
Good.
Okay,
I didn't remember who said it, but I did remember.
Let's return the mic to Dr. Lin, and then turn this over to Xu Jia, Dr. Xu, okay? To our English lesson.
Okay. I think we're going to leave to have dinner.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
谢谢。
You forgot your microphone. 永顺，你没有开麦。
对不起，好，这个我讲几句啊。时间过得很快，我做主持人，我必须严格掌握时间。前一半呢，因为这个 topic 很 interesting， 很有兴趣，如果再谈下去会没完没了的啊。也有很多人想讲，限于时间的机会。我想我还是把时间先交给许家，然后有剩下的时间我们要留下来，怎么发表感想，怎么大家随意，好不好？如果许家讲完了以后，我们就原则上散会，但是谁要讲感想体会的，这个会议还在继续。好，谢谢许家。
哎，你讲不了，你合总还只有10分钟了。
没有，你可以
问一下，还有多少时间？
你可以讲多久？你可以讲20分钟，可以吗
？20分钟，那我就不讲，那我就不讲了。
不
，20分钟怎么能够讲一个什么？
不是你。那我另外安排一个时间给你。
你另外安排时间
吧，对。
好，
因为你要讲一个问题都讲不清楚。
好，那你这个更好的建议。那么我们还有20分钟的时间，尽可以畅所欲言。
那我就不给你们翻译了啊。
不用翻译，对，现在是
没有人在了。
我们用这个
中文了，
母语讲话更简单。
谢谢你的翻译。
哎呀，我在这里
真好。
这个我办
真是功夫。
我们办这一次的讲座，不是为了大家提高很多专业知识或者是理想主义，我知道会是这个样子的我开始就讲是一个挑战。
我们可以把 live
我们
直播关掉了吧？
好，直播关掉啊。我们只是要学英文，听这个英语比我们讲的好的美国口音，然后学一些单词语调表达的方式，这个原则是这样子的那么不失做一个参考做一个参考。